This is my story how I came to Mayor Baba. It all started, I was actually out surfing back, I think it was 1967, could have been 66, somewhere in that time frame. And it was a beautiful day. It was just a beautiful day. I was sitting on my surfboard waiting for another wave to come along with some friends. And I had never thought about like where everything came from or where everything's going to go or the universe or any kind of spiritual thought or any kind of religious thought. I never had any thought like that in my whole entire body. But this particular day, because it was so beautiful out, I just got the feeling that like a wonderment, like wow, what is all this all about? You know, how did this all get here? It's just one of those perfect days where the temperature was perfect and the sun was beating down and I was feeling good. And I think that's the first like baby step on the spiritual path that I consider it. And then about a year later, 2 years later, I moved to, this was on Long Island in New York. I had moved to New York City, Queens, and I had met some people. I was over a friend's house, and one of the friends that was already there talked about Mayor Baba, this guy Mayor Baba, and I said, "Oh, who's Mayor Baba?" And he showed me a book, and I said, "Oh, okay, that's interesting." And I put it aside and went on talking. So that was I think Baba was trying to throw little seeds in my way of something. And anyway, then I went to Queens. I was going to Queens College at that time, and I met this person named Twig. Twig was friends with Ira, and Twig was giving a class in Eastern philosophy at Queens College. And now Twig was an interesting character. He would be dressed like the Maharishi. He was all in white, and he had hair down, like stringy hair, kind of like the Maharishi. And he was wearing the granny glasses. And this was 1960. This was late 69, early 1970. So I went to the class in Eastern philosophy, and I went to a couple of classes, and it was like, it really blew me away. He was very knowledgeable, and everything he said seemed to make perfect sense. So after a couple of classes, I went over to him, and I said, "Well, how did you find out about all this stuff? I mean, how do you know all this? I mean, it all sounds so true, you know, like the secrets of the universe." And he said, "Well, he picked up this book with a blue cover on it. He said, 'Here, it's all in this book, God Speaks.'" And I said, "God Speaks? Oh, by Mayor Baba. Oh, I heard that name before." So I opened the book, and there was mostly writing, and there were some charts, and I pulled out a couple of charts, color charts, and it showed the circles of being with all the levels of the planes and the unwinding sanskaras, and I closed it up again. So I give them back to him and said, "Well, is there a place to go? Is there meetings that I could, find out about all the stuff? I don't want to read that book. It seems too complicated." So he said, yeah, there's meetings on, I believe it was Monday nights in New York City on the Upper West Side. I think it was either 56th Street, 57th Street, something like that, 59th Street, I can't recall exactly. And so I said, yeah, let's go. So you have to take the subway. So about 3 weeks later, I couldn't go for a couple of weeks. So we went together. We went up there, and took the elevator up in this little apartment, and this little chubby man answered the door. It was Fred Winterfeld. He said, "Oh, hey, welcome, Jay Baba." And I was thinking, "Oh, okay, well, there was that." So I hugged him back and everything like that, and he introduced me around. And the thing that struck me the most was, this was really like right in hippie time. This was like 1970, this was like, I think March of 1970. So the hippie thing was going real strong. And, everything that had being around spirituality that I had seen was all these like long hair hippies and everything. So, and there were some long hair hippies there. I had long hair too at the time. But there was also people dressed in, you know, suit and tie and conservative. There were old people, there was black people, white people, and Indian people there. I was thinking, wow, this is really interesting. There's all these people here that are all different, and they're still kind of focusing on this guy, Meher Baba. So I know there was a guy in a dashiki, this black dude with the afro, was playing some piano thing, and he was singing some song about Meher Baba, and then somebody else came up and read something from Baba's writings. I don't know what it was from, but one of his writings. I wasn't really paying that much attention. I was just sort of interested in the feeling of the place and what this was all about. So I was kind of looking around and trying to figure out what was happening, as far as who was this guy Meher Baba. So anyway, the meeting progressed and people talked about different things, and I was just kind of looking around, and then this man came up and he said, okay, we're going to do the Master's Prayer now. And so this really tall guy come up. He was big, and he had, I guess he was blind, because he didn't see people, he had to be guided up to like the front of the room. And he wasn't wearing any glasses. Some blind people wear these glasses that cover their eyes because their eyes kind of look unusual. But he didn't, and his eyes were like rolling around in his head, like I couldn't look at him. So, but he stood up, and he gave the Master's Prayer, and that was Dr. Harry Kenmore. So when Dr. Harry Kenmore gave the Master's Prayer, he really gave the Master's Prayer. It was like, "Oh, Pavadagar, the preserver and protector of all," and it was like louder than that, and it was like every word I was going like, it was like being like these waves of energy were coming at me, and I was like, so I couldn't look at him. I had to close my eyes. So, and I think we were standing up. We were definitely standing up at the time. So he was saying the Master's Prayer, without beginning, without end, infinite power. So I was standing there. I was thinking, wow, Meher Baba, I wonder what this is all about. This is really intense. So I said, well, I wonder what would happen if I reached out to Meher Baba. So somehow inside my internal being reached out. I can't really explain it. Sort of like reaching out in the darkness to see if there's any other hand there or whatever, So then I felt this tingling on the top of my head. It's like a little, I don't know, it was a weird kind of a little tingling right there. And then I felt like an electric shock go through my body, like back and forth, up and down a few times. And I was going like, wow, this is bizarre. I don't know what this is. So I sat down after the Master's Prayer was over, and then I couldn't tell you what else happened at the meeting. I was sort of dazed. And I told my friend Schweg, who was sitting there, and he said, and I thought he would say like, wow, that's really amazing. And he just said like, oh yeah, wow, cool. Like it was like a common thing to happen. It's like he'd seen it all or whatever. But I was like really kind of in shock. So I was feeling kind of weird. My body was feeling kind of weird. So I made it home in the subway and get up to my little apartment there. And I get in, and I'm walking in, and I'm like, my body's really aching. I was like, really? I'm just like painful all over. And like by the time I got into bed, I was like on fire. My whole body was like painful. And I couldn't do anything about it, so I was lying in bed as still as I could. Because as soon as I moved a little bit, I would get like shocks, painful shocks in my body. And I said, well, I wonder what would happen if I say Meher Baba's name. I know it has something to do with Meher Baba. So I said Meher Baba's name to myself, Meher Baba. And the shocks got worse. The pain got more intense. I said, better not do this anymore. I better not say that name. So I fell asleep, and I woke up the next morning, and I felt like normal, like a normal, every day waking up in the morning. So, and I was thinking, wow, that was really bizarre. That was really a weird thing. I wonder. And I think, oh yeah, I said Baba's name. I wonder if I should say Baba's name again and see what happens. So I got up the courage to say Baba's name again. I went, okay, Baba, Baba, Baba. And this time, instead of shocks and pain, I got this wave of incredible bliss rolling through my entire body. It was like I was floating. So whenever I say Baba's name, I would feel this rush of bliss, and I was like, oh wow, this is really good. So I think I went back to college on Monday or something like that, and I was still, I was saying Baba's name every chance I got. And then I bought these beads, these mala beads, and I guess they call them prayer beads. And I would walk around the campus, and I would do the prayer. I would say Mayor Baba's name each time. I would walk Mayor Baba, 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 and it was blissful for about 3 months. And then it sort of wore off, and then, I don't know, I sort of got into other things, and, got into studies, and then we'd taken a trip to California from New York. I went into Berkeley, and I kind of forgot about Mayor Baba, and a little bit, well, not more than a little bit. I sort of wanted to put that whole kind of experience behind me because it was so weird. But I was still interested in Mayor Baba, but I wasn't quite what would I call a Baba lover. So I was walking down the street, and these people that I knew from Queens College were there in Berkeley, and they were riding by in a Volkswagen bus, and they stopped and they saw me there. I said, "Hey Brad, come on with us. We're going over to the Mayor Baba place." And I said, "Oh, well, okay, all right." So I hopped in. And there was a thing called Maherstown. It was in Berkeley, and it was this little downstairs sort of basement apartment that was in some house somewhere, and the Baba pictures were up on the wall. And I walked around, and I sort of I walked around inside, and I thought, oh yeah, this is really weird. This is like, yeah, okay, Mayor Baba again. And anyway, so it didn't really do much for me. And then I stayed at this other house in Berkeley, like sort of a crash pad, and people were doing drugs there and everything, and doing all kinds of wild, crazy things. And I'm getting ready to go. I put on my backpack because I got a ride. I got a ride back to New York from California. Somebody was going back east, and I don't know. I was walking down the driveway. And there at the bottom of the driveway, it was a Baba card. And I picked up the Baba card and said, "If you make me your real father, all your problems will be dissolved in the ocean of my love." And I looked at the card and I said, wow, yeah, Baba, I guess you got me, Baba. And that's how I became a Baba lover. And that's how I found out about Mayor Baba.